Her canvas sneakers sank into the dirt as she stepped onto the training field. No uniform, no name tag, no rank, just a plain white shirt and a quiet gaze. The cadet stared, then smirked. She must be lost. Probably someone's girlfriend tagging along. Their laughter spread like wildfire, mocking her clothes, her silence, her presence. This area is for authorized personnel only. A senior instructor pointed to the gate. She didn't argue. She just stood there, still, calm, steady. By lunchtime, someone had poured water in her shoes. By mid-afternoon, they'd started filming her for fun. But then a mission drill went wrong. Chaos broke out, and the woman they mocked stepped forward, took command, and changed everything. Hours later, a black military helicopter landed. Out stepped the most powerful general in the country. He walked right to her, saluted, and said 7 words that made the entire camp go silent. You mocked the heart of this command. So who was she, and why did her silence shake a whole army? At 30, Maya Roberts didn't look like someone who once led soldiers into combat zones. Her canvas sneakers were faded. Her white shirt was slightly wrinkled. Her ponytail hung low, clean but unstyled. She wore no badges, no stripes, no sign of rank, just quiet grace. That morning, she arrived at Camp Redwood beside her boyfriend Eric Lang, a newly recruited strategic advisor. The invitation had been simple. Come see the grounds. Watch a few exercises. Nothing more. She hadn't stepped onto a military base in over 4 years. Not since the day she turned in her badge and walked away from the only life she had ever known. People said she left to heal. Others said it was guilt, but Maya never explained. What they didn't know was that she once commanded a special ops unit. Her name had been whispered in strategy rooms. She had stood in war zones while others hesitated, until one mission ended in loss and silence became her shield. Now, on a quiet morning in Virginia, Maya returned. Not to fight, not to prove anything, just to watch. As she walked across the field, cadets stared, not with respect, but with confusion. Who was this woman in second-hand shoes and no title? Maya didn't flinch. She didn't explain. Her eyes scanned the camp, calm and calculating, noticing every pattern, every flaw, every blind spot, old instincts still alive. When whispers began, she said nothing. When laughter followed, she looked past it. She had stood through worse, and today, she wasn't here for them. Maya carried only a canvas backpack. Inside it, a notebook, a water bottle, and nothing more. Yet she walked with the quiet confidence of someone who didn't need to be seen to have power. While others judged her by what she wore, they missed what lived behind her eyes. And soon, they would regret that. Camp Redwood was not just a training facility. It was a fortress built for the elite. Barbed wire framed the perimeter. Polished steel gates opened only for those on the list. Every inch of the compound reflected wealth, precision, and unspoken power. Inside, concrete barracks gleamed like luxury condos. The simulation field stretched across several acres, wired with live surveillance drones. Command towers with bulletproof glass watched over every move. This was where the sons and daughters of generals, senators, and CEOs came to train. Not to enlist, but to prove they belonged in rooms where decisions were made. Their uniforms were not standard issue. Each cadet wore tactical gear custom-fitted to their measurements. Some had Kevlar stitched by boutique tailors. Names like Arc'teryx and Crime Precision stood out in embossed detail. Their boots, made from imported leather, cost more than most people's monthly rent. Each weapon they carried was engraved with a family crest. Rifles fitted with biometric locks, sidearms plated with matte carbon finish. The training gear was lined up on polished gunmetal racks, helmets with heads-up displays, gloves that could scan pressure points. Every detail whispered wealth and legacy. Cadets arrived in private jets and armored SUVs. Their backgrounds were as impressive as their attitudes. Ivy League resumes, diplomatic surnames. Some had never failed a test in their lives. Here, failure was simulated, but hierarchy was real. Instructors addressed them with a balance of firmness and favor. Some were clearly protected by who their parents were. The others simply tried to blend in. And when Maya walked in, she didn't blend. She didn't wear a name tag. She didn't wear anything tactical, just a white button-up, slightly creased and canvas sneakers that had touched more dirt than polished floor. The cadets noticed almost immediately. One leaned against a Humvee, Oakley's perched on his face, and smirked loud enough for his group to hear. Lost hiker or someone's assistant. A girl in full Under Armour gear whispered to her squad, "She's not even carrying a sidearm. What's she doing here?" The looks that followed were not curious. They were dismissive, calculated, cold. To them, Maya was noise, unranked, unworthy, unseen. Camp Redwood had its own ecosystem built on name, wealth, and curated image. Those without status became invisible, and those who refused to play along were pushed out. Maya didn't speak. She didn't explain. She stood on the dirt, quiet, composed, watching. And the camp kept watching her back, judging her, measuring her, and eventually underestimating her. They didn't know it yet, but the person they saw as an outsider was about to become the most important name any of them would remember. The morning sun climbed higher over Camp Redwood, casting long shadows across the training field. Maya stood near the edge of the simulation zone, her canvas sneakers half sunk in the dirt. Her faded white shirt fluttered slightly in the wind. A plain canvas backpack rested on her shoulder. She had said nothing since arriving. She didn't need to. The cadets had already drawn their own conclusions. At the center of the field, a group of trainees clustered near a tactical jeep, laughing louder than necessary. Leading them was Savannah Pierce, easily recognizable. Her jet black braid swung behind her like a whip. Her custom vest bore the crest of her father's office. She didn't glance at Maya at first, but the smirk had already formed. Savannah turned to her group. "Did someone misplace their nanny?" she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I think she took a wrong turn. This is a military field, not a coffee shop." The others snickered. One cadet wearing a monogrammed hydration pack chimed in, "Maybe she's doing recon for Yelp. Hope she likes the dirt." Savannah walked slowly toward Maya. The boots crunched the gravel. Her gloves were spotless, her tone sharper now. "You lost, sweetheart. This isn't a museum tour. You need a badge to stand here." Maya didn't move. Her gaze remained steady. Savannah's eyes traveled down to the backpack. No insignia, no ID, canvas shoes. "That's adorable." She stepped closer. "Let me guess. Tagging along with your boyfriend, trying to feel important." A few instructors nearby exchanged looks, but said nothing. One of them, a junior logistics officer, chuckled quietly. Savannah raised a water bottle from the nearby bench. Without hesitation, she tipped it over Maya's sneakers. The water soaked in fast, darkening the fabric. "Oops," Savannah said, tilting her head. "I thought I was watering the grass." The field fell quiet for a second. Then laughter erupted. It spread like wildfire. Someone clapped. Another whistled. One cadet tossed a fake grenade prompt toward Maya's feet. "Duck and cover, civilian," he called out. It bounced once, landed beside her shoe. Maya didn't even flinch. Her silence wasn't weakness. It unsettled them. Savannah narrowed her eyes. "You're really not going to say anything?" she asked. "Nothing at all." No response. "She probably doesn't even know what a field op is," one trainee muttered. "Or maybe she's here to collect laundry." An instructor standing nearby leaned toward a colleague and whispered, "They should screen visitors better. This is embarrassing." Maya's eyes swept the group slowly, not in anger but in quiet observation. She noted the ranks, the posture, the arrogance. Savannah stepped back, frustrated by Maya's calm. "She's a tourist," she announced, taking pictures with her eyes, pretending to belong. Another cadet mimicked taking a photo. Smile for the scrapbook. Laughter again. Maya shifted her backpack higher onto her shoulder. Her expression didn't change. She looked for a moment like she had somewhere else to be, and that only made them bolder. A tall cadet walked over, held up his phone as if filming. "Tell us your name," he said mockingly. "We want to remember who got escorted out." Savannah nodded toward the command tower. "Let's speed this up. Someone call a staff lead. This is a security violation, isn't it?" Across the field, a uniformed instructor began walking over. His name tag read Delgado. His sleeves were perfectly pressed. He didn't ask questions. He just pointed. "This section is for active cadets and authorized staff only," he said. "Please return to the observation area." Maya looked at him just for a second. Then she nodded. She turned slowly and began to walk away. The field buzzed behind her. Someone whispered, "She actually left." Another cadet snorted. "I guess even tourists know when they're not wanted." Savannah watched Maya go, jaw clenched. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. Because while Maya had said nothing, her silence had done something they didn't expect. It held. It absorbed. It remembered. And soon it would speak. Not with words, but with action. Colonel Thomas Grayson stood at the edge of the training field. Arms crossed, his eyes locked on Maya. At 52, he had served in 2 wars and commanded hundreds. His voice alone could clear a hallway. Now it cut through the laughter like a blade. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "this facility operates under strict authorization. You are not listed in today's access roster." Maya turned to face him. She didn't defend herself. She didn't look surprised. She simply met his gaze. Calm, still holding her soaked sneakers against the sun-dried ground. Savannah Pierce stepped forward, smug. "She already caused a scene," she said loudly. She ignored protocol. She lingered where she shouldn't have. "That's a violation." "Right, Colonel." Several cadets pulled out their phones. One whispered, "This is gold. I'm posting this with the caption, 'Tourist gets kicked out by command.'" Grayson's expression remained neutral, but his tone turned sharp. "You need to leave the training zone. Now." Maya didn't flinch. She looked at the ground for a second, then adjusted the strap on her canvas backpack. "I understand," she said quietly. Savannah gave a theatrical wave. "Exits that way, sweetheart," she called. "Thanks for visiting Camp Redwood. Please leave a 5-star review." Laughter spread like wildfire, mock applause, sarcastic salutes. A few clapped slowly as Maya began to walk. The path back to the gate was long. Maya walked it without looking back. Each step was steady, each breath quiet. The sun hit her face. Her shirt clung slightly where the water had dried in patches, but her posture never changed. Eyes followed her, some triumphant, some uncertain. A young cadet near the barracks lowered his phone mid-recording, his brows furrowed. He didn't laugh. Another cadet standing near the simulation tent glanced at Maya's calm exit, then looked at Savannah. His smirk faded. The mood shifted for a moment, not enough to stop the cheering, but enough for the camera drones to capture something else. Doubt. Grayson remained where he stood, watching Maya reach the perimeter fence. He tapped his comm device, signaling security. Savannah turned to her group. "Did anyone get the shot where she stepped in the mud puddle? That's going on my story." One of the other girls laughed. "Should we tag her? Wait, does she even have social media?" They huddled, scrolling through their phones, self-congratulating, already rewriting what had happened. But Maya kept walking. She passed the rusted gate where a private in pressed uniform held it open without speaking. She nodded once in thanks, then disappeared from view, and that should have been the end of it. A nobody removed from a place where she didn't belong. A few good laughs, a story to tell at dinner. But something lingered, a stillness, a strange pause in the wind. Back at the field, a few instructors stood quieter than before. Colonel Grayson watched the dust settle on the path Maya had taken. He didn't say it out loud, but something about her silence, her restraint, didn't sit right. And somewhere in the hearts of those who had watched it all unfold, a question began to form. Who was she really? And why hadn't she fought back? The sky darkened over Camp Redwood just after lunch. The alarm sounded without warning. Sharp. Piercing. A single red flare shot into the air from the simulation tower. Scenario Alpha is now live, came the voice over the intercom. All units report. Jungle terrain. Search and rescue. Hostile simulation in play. Cadets scrambled, maps in hand, radios buzzing. Each team had 10 minutes to gear up and deploy. Savannah Pierce was assigned as field lead. Her voice came through the main channel, clipped and fast. Team 1, move north. Team 2, hold west perimeter. Team 3 with me. But she was already fumbling. Their route was off. Coordinates didn't match the map. One squad was missing. Another had gone radio silent. Inside the thick simulation forest, chaos spread. A team got stranded on high ground. Another ran straight into an ambush. Cadets yelled over each other. Some radios crackled. Some died. One unit tried to build a temporary shelter and failed. Savannah stood in the middle of it all, breathing hard. Mud streaked her vest. Her earpiece buzzed with noise. She shouted, "Pull back. Regroup near the river." But no one knew where the river was. A voice cut through the static. Team 4, staggered fallback, regroup at Mark 72. It was not Savannah. Cadets looked up. Maya stood at the edge of the tree line. No gear, no uniform, just a notebook in hand, but her voice was clear. Commanding. Precise. She pointed at the map on the portable screen. Team 2, flank right, circle the ridge. Cover Team 1. They're pinned under simulated fire. Someone hesitated. A cadet near the radio asked, "Who gave you clearance to speak?" Maya didn't answer. She stepped forward. Team 3, she said, looking at a group crouched under a broken shelter. "You're exposed. Shift left. Form a half-moon perimeter. Assign one as scout. Move now." They moved. Even Savannah froze. Maya crouched over the map, recalculating positions. She scribbled lines with a stick in the dirt. "Red markers are enemy points. You're being boxed in. If you wait, the sim ends in a full wipe." She lifted her head. "I can get you out. But you listen. You follow, or you fail." No one argued. The next 10 minutes moved fast. Voices steadied. Units reformed. Maya directed each group with sharp commands. Left flank. Hold position. Wait for signal. Team 2, use fog for cover. Move. Slow, silent. Team 5, break line. Head east. Plant mock beacon at high ground. The cadets followed. Aerial drones captured the shift. What began as disorder turned into formation. Savannah stood near the rear line, holding a radio she never keyed. She watched Maya from behind the trees, not speaking, not moving. By the 20-minute mark, the perimeter was locked. Each squad accounted for, every target point hit. No simulated casualties, no tactical gaps. The alarm sounded again. This time 3 short tones. Mission complete. Colonel Grayson stared at the screen in the command tower. The simulation had never ended that fast. He checked the timestamps twice. Tactical Officer Hayes turned to him. "That's the cleanest run we've ever had," he said quietly. "No injuries, no errors." Below, the cadets emerged from the forest breathing heavy, covered in mud, but intact. Maya walked last, still in the same wrinkled shirt, same canvas shoes, her steps calm. As she passed Savannah, she slowed just a bit, not to gloat, just enough for her presence to be felt. In the debrief tent, no one spoke at first. The screen showed every move, every shift. There was no denying it. The instructors waited for someone to explain. Maya stood off to the side. She hadn't sat. She hadn't touched the water bottle offered to her. Grayson finally asked, "Who coordinated that operation?" The cadets looked at each other. No one raised a hand. Then one voice spoke. "She did," said a voice from Team 2. He pointed at Maya. "She saved all of us." More nods followed. Another cadet stood. "She gave orders like she'd done this before." A third added, "She knew the terrain better than our map." Grayson walked to the center of the tent. He looked at Maya directly. "Where did you train?" he asked. Maya met his gaze. Her tone was even. 10 years with Joint Special Forces, she said. 4 as field commander. Retired at 26. A hush fell over the room. Someone whispered, "What's her name again?" Before anyone could ask more, the tent flap lifted. A gust of wind blew in, and with it, the sound of rotors. A Black Hawk helicopter descended just beyond the hill. No VIP visit was scheduled. No drill remained. The general stepped out, his 4 stars glinting in the sun. General Daniel Briggs, Supreme Command of Strategic Ops. He walked straight into the debriefed tent, eyes locked on Maya, and without hesitation, he saluted. The cadets stood frozen. Even the instructors stiffened. Then the general turned to the room, his voice low, measured. "You followed her orders," he said, "because she knew how to lead." He turned to Maya again. "You never lost your edge," and in that moment, every assumption crumbled. Every mockery faded, because the woman they had judged, the one they tried to push out, had just done what none of them could. She had commanded. She had saved. She had led without ever needing permission. The debriefing tent was packed. Cadets stood shoulder to shoulder. Instructors whispered. Eyes flicked to the command screen, still frozen on the final simulation footage. Colonel Grayson stepped to the front. He cleared his throat. "Before we proceed, one question needs to be answered," he said. "Who took control of that operation?" No one spoke. Then Maya stepped forward, quietly, calmly. "I did," she said. Heads turned. Some gasped, others stared in disbelief. Grayson studied her. "You're not on the roster. You're not staff. Explain yourself." Maya didn't blink. She stood with her arms relaxed, voice even. "My name is Maya Roberts. I served 10 years in Joint Special Forces. I held rank of Captain, Falcon Unit 6, through 3 high-risk deployments. I resigned 4 years ago after a mission failure cost lives, including someone close to me. I haven't worn a uniform since." The room fell silent. No one moved. An instructor near the back took a slow breath. A cadet lowered her gaze. Maya continued. "I didn't come here to lead," she said. "I came to watch." She looked around the tent. "But when your field fell apart, I did what I was trained to do. I gave direction. You followed, and we completed the mission." Simple, honest, undeniable. Then came the low thud of rotors. Distant, growing louder. Outside, dust kicked up across the landing pad. A military Black Hawk swept in, unscheduled, unannounced. Its landing shook the tents. Everyone turned. The door slid open. Boots hit the ground. And then, stepping into full view, came General Daniel Briggs. 4 stars on his collar, steel-gray eyes, every step precise. The cadets stared. The instructors froze. Briggs walked past the line of stunned officers, heading straight toward the tent. No escort, no salute, just purpose. He entered, stopped 3 feet from Maya, and saluted. A clean, sharp salute. Maya returned it without hesitation. Gasps rippled through the tent. Briggs turned to the crowd. "An hour ago," he began, "I received multiple alerts regarding misconduct at this camp. Reports of mockery, targeted humiliation, disrespect directed at a guest, a woman, a civilian, a former officer." He looked around the room. "And my wife." The room went dead quiet. Savannah Pierce shrank back. A few cadets lowered their heads. One instructor stepped behind a column. Briggs's voice didn't rise, But it carried. You mocked her clothes. You judged her silence. You questioned her right to stand where she stood. He took a breath. But while you were shouting, she was watching. While you were fumbling, she was fixing your mess. He turned to Colonel Grayson. I want a full investigation. Names, footage. Anyone involved in harassment or active humiliation is to be suspended. He paused. Effective immediately. Savannah stepped forward. General, Briggs raised a hand. You did nothing. You lost formation. You lost control. And you stood by while my wife was degraded. Savannah's mouth opened, then closed. Briggs faced the room again. This camp is meant to train leaders. You do not lead by power. You lead by presence. He looked back at Maya. She didn't ask for control. She earned it. The tent was silent. Not one whisper, not one step. Then Grayson spoke, low and firm. Privileges will be stripped. Trial access revoked. Evaluations paused. He pointed at the screens. She taught you something today. Not just how to lead, but how to hold ground without shouting. Savannah stepped back into the crowd. Her braid no longer perfect. Her name suddenly weightless. Across the room, a staff officer removed her headset. The cadet who poured water in Maya's shoes sat down hard, eyes wide, hands shaking. And Maya, she simply stood. Not triumphant, not smug, just steady. Briggs turned to her again. Command wants you reinstated, he said. They're watching this now. Maya shook her head, smiling faintly. I'm done with war, Daniel. I just came to see the camp. He nodded once, and that was enough. Outside, the sky cleared. The dust settled. Inside the tent, for the first time that day, no one questioned who belonged. They knew. And every pair of eyes that had once laughed now watched Maya with something else entirely. Respect. The next morning, the field was quiet. Cadets lined up in full gear. But something had shifted. They stood straighter, spoke softer, looked around with new eyes. Maya returned to the grounds one last time. Not in uniform, not with rank, just with that same worn backpack over her shoulder. Colonel Grayson met her at the gate. He handed her a file and said simply, "The board approved your name as guest instructor. 1 term, if you're willing." Maya smiled. "I'll teach them how to listen," she said. "That's a start." Later that day, the cadets gathered one by one. Those who had mocked her stepped forward. No excuses, no defense, only quiet apologies. Savannah Pierce stood at the back. She didn't speak. She only lowered her head. Her suspension was confirmed. Her father's calls went unanswered. Maya said nothing. She didn't need to. By week's end, she packed her things. Stepped off the grounds the same way she entered. Simple. Calm. Steady. Her canvas sneakers brushed the dirt. Her backpack shifted on her back. And behind her, a field full of future leaders stood in silence, watching her go. Because sometimes the strongest voice is the one that never had to shout. And you don't need a uniform to be respected. Only truth.